day, just running crazy. So hope you guys are having a great Sunday. It's nice to see ya. I decided to do my live today from my kitchen since we're going to be talking so much about food and all that good stuff. So I've been getting a lot of questions lately in the group about what I eat in a day, because if you're not accustomed to a medical medium lifestyle, it might be a little bit puzzling what you replace all of the troublemaker foods with, because I'm going to start off by saying that the foods that you need to start trying to avoid, because these are inflammatory foods. They feed the pathogens that are ultimately behind our condition of spasmodic dysphonia. And so there's my dog. Sorry, you might be coughing in the background. He's got this chronic like hinking cough. So you hear that in the background, don't be alarmed. It's sort of a regular occurrence around here. Anyway, so the foods that you want to start thinking about eliminating are eggs, dairy, gluten, corn, soy, canola oil, and pork. So the reason that they are inflammatory is because the viruses that we are affected by, unfortunately, with spasmodic dysphonia, love to eat those foods, and they keep those viruses strong and proliferating in a way that is not good for us. So there's my cat too. We have to always have a little ring in from the cat and the dog. So basically we're working towards eliminating all those foods. Now, I recognize that those are common foods to be eating every day, that most of us on a standard American diet are eating those foods every day. So finding ways to start to eliminate them and replace other things in their place so that we can still feel like we're eating plenty of food, because that is another thing. We do not want to deprive ourselves of food whatsoever. We want to eat regularly, very regularly, because we're trying to heal our adrenal glands as well as our nervous system and whatever else you got cooking in there. Because, you know, a lot of times by the time the pathogens have gotten to your central nervous system, aka spasmodic dysphonia, you have some other things going along with it. A lot of times it's adrenal fatigue. It is some breakdown in liver function. So there can be like a hypoglycemic situation, an insulin resistance situation happening, thyroid problems, all sorts of menopause symptoms, all of that stuff that is branded, you know, under those categories actually are also related to a liver that is clogged and overburdened, and then an overabundance of pathogens in our body. And that's what we want to start getting rid of. So as we start to eliminate the foods, we got to figure out the foods that we actually like to eat, because this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. So you can do anything for a short period of time. You can do it for a week or two, no problem. But the problem is that it might take longer than that to get the healing done that we need to do. So in that case, we need to have some good arsenal of foods that we like. So I'm going to talk to you today because there's various levels of cleansing, of detoxing our body, of, you know, there are periods of time throughout my journey. So I started very, very gung-ho, and after about a month or so of dabbling, I decided to jump right into a cleanse, which I do not recommend, because when your body is so toxic that your central nervous system is being affected by it, there's a boatload of pathogens in there that are going to come up as you're trying to detox your body. And I guarantee you, your lymphatic system is not clear enough yet to move all of those toxins out. So basically what I did is I kicked up a shitstorm, excuse my language, in my body, and had all these toxins then floating around my bloodstream. And then of course my lymphatic system is not equipped to get it out all the way. So it just floated around and further inflamed my nerves. And so that's what we want to avoid at all costs, because we want to, by the time we get to around to cleansing, we want to make sure that we're cleansing everything out and it's gone for good. And so we're not, dealing with a lingering problem. So what I recommend is picking a food, perhaps a week or a month, however slowly you want to proceed. I was desperate. I wanted it done yesterday. I wanted the healing to happen. And so I pulled all the stops out, which sometimes less is more when it comes to like the pace of the body to actually heal and replenish itself. Your body has its own time frame, and there's nothing you can do to speed that up. There's a natural rhythm to it and a natural proper order of things that needs to happen. And sometimes adding more protocols and doing more things is not necessarily beneficial, because you get stressed out about trying to do too much. And oh my God, you become upset. Like that, I became obsessed with like my food every day. Am I doing enough? Am I, getting all my things in every day? And I don't think that was productive. And I don't think that helped me in the long run, because that adrenaline of my stress and worry about my food was adding to the problem. So anyway, so basically, if you take one of the problematic foods out let's say every week, just if you're pretty ambitious and you want to do it pretty quickly, I would maybe start with eggs. I know they're in a lot of baked goods that are on the market that are processed. Even gluten-free ones often have eggs in them. But there is a way to find some that are vegan and don't have eggs in them. And you can also bake your own stuff too, which is really the best way to do it if you have the time and the energy to do it, because it'll be free of all the garbage that we want to avoid ultimately. Again, I'm looking for productivity. We're looking for productive progress versus perfection. And that's what I'm going to recommend to you guys. I'm going to say it over and over again, because we can get into a perfectionist mindset. I would dare say that most of us who have this condition are already type A, very perfectionist, very detail, oriented kind of people, high strung. And so we don't need to add more to that. We need to calm down. We don't need to be giving ourselves more things to stress out about. So as we are progressing and we're beginning to take some of those things out, I would begin also bringing in a ton of fruit, because fruit is the most detoxifying and nutrient dense food on the planet. But also, I don't know, I personally just love it. I think it satisfies that sugar craving for me. I used to have a sweet tooth a mile long before I started my journey. I was like, Candy Kathy was my nickname when I was a kid. And I always had blood sugar issues and such. And so knowing that I'm getting enough glucose every hour, every 2 hours at the very most. I don't go very long at all between eating, and I recommend that you guys start adopting that as well. The fruit is crucial. It's a I want to say a cornerstone of this healing, because it is going to buy you the maximum benefit from eating it. In addition to the fruit, another really crucial thing are the minerals that come from leafy greens, from celery. So hence the celery juice in this protocol. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But again, we're looking for the glucose from the fruits, and then we're also looking for the minerals in the leafy greens and the celery juice and all that good stuff. In addition to that, I leaned heavily into potatoes. And I'll tell you why. Number one, potatoes are very calming to the nervous system. They're very grounding. So a lot of the food that we eat has spiritual and energetic properties. So we're also, inadvertently getting some of those properties when we're eating those foods. So the potatoes are very grounding. I know for me, so even now, like I just finished my, I do a heavy metal detox smoothie, like ×2. I don't put all the active ingredients in ×2, but I make it giant. I make it like 48 ounces of smoothie. So I'm sipping on it for a good part of the day to kind of keep that constant mineral and glucose thing coming into my body. And then I don't have to stop what I'm doing to sit and eat an adrenal snack, which would be like an apple, celery, date kind of thing. So I use that smoothie kind of like as an adrenal snack, as my breakfast, as sort of like this long lasting thing. But I was getting geared up to come on and chat with you guys. And I noticed I was feeling a little detoxy. I can feel it in my body. It almost feels like my brain feels a little fuzzy, and I can feel a little anxious coming, like anxiety coming on. And so I recognize this after all these years, obviously, that it's detoxing me. And so my nervous system is still very sensitive. And I dare say, I'm going to also encourage you guys all to assume that your nervous systems are also sensitive before you embark on this journey, and proceed accordingly in taking very small steps and doing things in small increments instead of giant leaps, which, historically speaking, I was an all or nothing person. I would want to go gung ho and, do it all, right off the bat. And of course, 9 times out of 10 in the past, I would burn out and like not be able to continue with such enthusiasm, because I would go ham right off the bat. And then it was unsustainable. And so I want to encourage you guys to think of this in terms of a long-term change, and we're going to make tiny steps along the way. But when I started noticing the detox, I went ahead and ate. I had made these potato crust pizzas last night. Like I made this giant tray of potato crust pizza. So I can talk more about that. I'll put the recipe in the bottom. It's not complicated at all. It's basically steamed potatoes, some potato starch and seasonings. And you just bake it by itself first on the tray, and then you can add sauce and toppings and stuff like that. And then instant pizza, which is one of my favorite things of all time, actually, because that's kind of like my treat. I feel like it's a treat. But I had a couple pieces of that before I came on with you guys, because I was feeling a little like, okay, I need some grounding. I need something to slow down this detox that's happening. And so cooked foods has that ability to kind of slow things down, not completely halt it, but it can slow things down. Similarly, adding a little fat to the situation also slows down detox, and can, possibly, depending on how much fat you're eating, can stop it altogether at that moment until the fat moves out of the system, and then the detox can reconvene, basically. So for me, again, I talked about the fact that I went like full ham. And so in the beginning, I cut out grains, because also I was dealing with some strep related things like chronic sinus infections, a UTI, and seasonal allergies and all that good stuff. And so and also the acid reflux that I was dealing with has a strep component as well. And so I was trying to alleviate all of those things. And so even though certain grains like rice and quinoa and millet are all fine, and they're not feeding pathogens, so to speak, they do create a barrier for the pathogens to hide behind in your digestive tract, especially because those foods are mucus forming foods. Same with lentils, beans and lentils, same thing. They don't feed pathogens. They are not bad for you by any stretch, but they can provide a mucus membrane, basically, that then the pathogens can hide behind, and then your immune system can't see them and get them out. So just bear that in mind. So grains and beans are, of course, perfectly good and fine. And especially if you're not really dealing with too much digestive problems, you don't have a lot of strep related things, then by all means lean into the beans and rice if you want to, because again, as we're coming off of the processed foods and the foods that are the troublemaker foods, we're looking for substance sometimes. We're looking for that full feeling, because fruit, it just moves right through you. You know, you eat that fruit smoothie and literally like an hour later, you're like, I'm hungry again. So it's because it's so easily digested, and which is great, because then all of the energy that would normally go to digesting food for your body is now diverted to healing it and to your immune system, you know, getting a boost. So that's another great reason to eat a lot of fruit. And same thing even with the greens. If you're not putting a lot of fats into your greens, then again, it's going to move straight through you, and it's going to be like one of those things that is, you barely even, you know, feel like you're going to eat this giant bowl of salad, which is what I do every day, like this ridiculous mixing bowl full of salad. Looks like it's for a family of 4. It's only for me. But you know, that's another thing. So let's talk a little bit about our salad and our salad dressing, because I would encourage you guys to start bringing in a salad every day, at least one, because you know, if you can add it. I add spinach to my smoothie in the morning just to get those extra greens. Eat a salad, usually at lunch, but sometimes I flip-flop it. Like today, I made my potato pizza for lunch, and I'll have a salad for dinner. But depending on, you know, what kind of dressing you want to put on it, that is a little bit of a challenge sometimes, because we're looking for dressings that aren't too heavy in the fats. Or if we use like an olive oil and vinegar based kind of salad dressing, in the beginning, when you're first starting out, you got one that's clean, it doesn't have any bad stuff in it, and you want to avoid things like citric acid. You're looking to avoid, you know, all the maltodextrin, dextrose, all of that junk. That stuff is basically code for MSG and gluten. It's not preferable at all. So for the longest time, I was just pretty lazy when it came to trying to like make a fancy dressing for my salad. I would occasionally do it, but most of the time, you know, again, I'm trying to like eliminate time in the kitchen. If I can do something quick. So honey is always like a mainstay of mine that I use. So sometimes there's like a Dijon mustard that's clean. I'll grab it. I just found it at Whole Foods the other day. Here, let's see. So this is like an organic, it's that 365 brand at Whole Foods, and it has apple cider vinegar in it, which again, when you get hardcore later, you might want to start looking at the vinegar fact and try and eliminate that when you're cleansing and that sort of thing. But again, as we're making a transition, we're looking for progress, not perfection, and we're gonna need stuff that tastes good, right? So that's a good one. Oh, I'll show you also, I have this salsa that I had discovered. It was at Walmart too. I did a post about it not too long ago, but it's called Saucy is the name of the the brand name. And it is so clean. It doesn't even have any vinegar, which is nice. That is hard to find. Honestly, I've never found one that didn't have vinegar at a grocery store. And the fact that it was at Walmart, of all places, I was like, whoa, awesome. That's not true. there is Amy's salsa that you can get at Whole Foods and stuff like that too. I forgot about that. But also it's like $8 a thing. I'm like, come on. No, I'm not paying $8 for a thing of salsa. This is $4.99, which is still kind of pricey compared to whatever, but it's really, really yummy. And it makes a quick and easy dressing. And you could even take it to restaurants and stuff like that. Because that's always the issue, you know, dining out. It is a challenge because of the stupid canola oil that all of our American restaurants use. And it's horrible for us. It's like, it's known in so many circles that those seed oils are toxic. You can hear a lot of those like naturopath doctors or people who are functional medicine doctors talking. Dr. Mark Hyman is big on this, like, do not eat the seed oils if you can avoid it, because it is just so processed and there's so much junk in there that is hard for us to handle in our bodies. So as we are eating our leafy greens every day, so even the salsa, like, you know, doesn't have fat in it. So that's great. It's neither does the Dijon mustard. So I mix, you know, I can mix a little honey and Dijon together. I don't even get an extra dish out to do it. I just squirt it directly on the salad and mix it all up once it's in there. Like, again, I'm about saving steps and about making it easy on myself. I'm far from a perfectionist in this regard. I used to be more so, and I'm giving it up. I've given up my perfectionist ways. So, so those are a couple of important points. So let's just talk about, you know, what I do every day when I wake up. Basically, wake up, I get my lemon water going. So I usually I drink a lot from jars because there can hold more. Most of the glasses don't hold the kind of liquids that I'm looking for. In addition, I can put a lid on it. And so if I want to make extra, like when I make that giant smoothie, I'll pour some of it into a jar and put it in the fridge for later, you know, as I go through the day. So same thing with my celery juice now. So I do the lemon water first thing. So you can start with a little bit. Again, we're taking baby steps here because I don't know how sensitive you are, and I don't know how many toxins you have in your body. The lemon water alone, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, helps us purge out all the toxins that the liver has been weeding out overnight. The liver gets busy around 3 a.m. So if you ever wake up at 3 a.m. and go, why can I not get back to sleep? It's because your liver woke up and is trying to do some work. And if it's struggling, you could feel some spasms in there sometimes. You can get like overheated and start having a hot flash at that point. Lots of that stuff is related to the liver working it out. So the lemon water helps flush out those toxins. So I do 32 ounces in the morning, but you can start with 8 or 16 ounces and just get that going. And so, you know, first week, I'd say that's a good place to start with your protocols, and you can maybe bring in the lemon water and then weed out one of the troublemaker foods. And that's a pretty good adjustment for 1 week. Then maybe the following week, you could start thinking about bringing in some celery juice, because that's the next thing that I do. After my lemon water, I wait 20 or 30 minutes, and then I drink between 16 and 32 ounces of celery juice. Now, when I was hardcore into it, I drank more. I drank 2 of them a day sometimes. So, you know, again, I'm just telling you, as you're starting, let's just assume you guys are coming from a standard American diet and you're going to get going on these protocols. That's the thing. We want to go slow, and celery juice is really powerful. So I would say do not start it if you have to dash out the door and you have a crazy busy day and you can't get to a toilet. I would say begin it on a day where you're off. You can be home and be near your toilet because you're going to make friends with your toilet, I promise you. Which, for me, that was a great thing because I spent years and years constipated. So now that I have the, you know, freedom of that. Like, that is never an issue for me anymore. It's not a question of when I'm going to go. It's how many times during the day. TMI, sorry. But getting down into this cleansing thing, you got to get like comfortable with these bodily functions, trust me. So start with a couple ounces of celery juice, move into, go start with 2, then maybe a few days go by and you're like, this isn't that bad. Go to 4, then you can go to 6, then you work your way up to 16, but do it as slowly as you need to. If it gets to be too much, back down again. Don't this is what I did. I dug my heels in. I'm like, this is what the book said. I'm going to do this, regardless of what my body was telling me. My body was telling me it was too much for me, but I didn't listen. I just said, nope, this is the protocol and this is what I'm doing. And I want to encourage you to get in touch with your body and listen to your body and trust that it knows, some good stuff. And it knows what the right amount is for you. Everybody's different. Everybody has different levels of toxicity. We have different pathogens. I'm sure I have at least one of the Epstein-Barr, one strain of Epstein-Barr, and at least one of shingles, probably more. So, in addition to all sorts of other viruses that I'm sure that are in there that I have no idea about. I don't even know. So we just have to honor ourselves. That's the bottom line here. This is a journey where we are going to finally learn and master how to love ourselves and how to actually give ourselves the care and the just consideration that we have never given ourselves. Because I guarantee you that you will have put yourself at the bottom of the to-do list for your whole life. I know that's what I did. And it wasn't even intentional. It wasn't even like a conscious thing where I was like, who cares what I need or whatever. It wasn't like that. It was like, I was such a people pleaser and I just never wanted to disappoint anybody. I just wanted to always be able to be all things to all people is what I try to do. Never make anyone upset with me or unhappy. And so in the process, then I just let the other stuff kind of slide. And I was just like, well, it's okay. I don't have to, I'm tired, but I can push through. It's okay. So I know how that game kind of works. And so what I'm going to do is try and help you reprogram your thinking so that you can feel good about putting yourself first. So putting your self-care on the top of the list isn't me first, it's me too. It's not selfish, it's also me. So we have neglected ourselves too long, and sometimes the demands of our lives, it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you have to put it on the back burner, but the problem is that when we put it on the back burner for extended periods of time, we just eventually run out of steam. We deplete our adrenal glands to the point where we just can't carry on any longer and start getting into the chronic illness game because, we have those issues and we're not addressing them. We're not listening to the whispers that our body is telling us. So after the lemon water, the celery juice, then about 30 minutes later, then another thing we're going to add in, but not right away, is the heavy metal detox smoothie. So I would advise you to, when you're starting off and you're just getting the lemon water and the celery juice kind of in your regimen, I would just put a fruit smoothie then next as your breakfast. However, if you feel like you need something more, because sometimes people are used to eating like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit or something in the morning. They're used to that kind of like full like feeling of substance in their body. And this feels weird to have just fruit. So some things that you can add in the morning for breakfast that are completely fine and help you make that transition are like gluten-free oats, oatmeal. That's completely fine. You could add in some, some wild blueberries or some sliced bananas and some maple syrup. Ooh, yum. That's good stuff. That, in addition, you could make a potato or a sweet potato in the morning. You could put a little cinnamon on there and some maple syrup on that sweet potato. Give you that more of that substantial feeling as you're transitioning, because again, this is like, it's going to be a journey. The next thing for lunch, same thing. If you need something more than just a salad for lunch, you can always add in some cooked vegetables, some potatoes. I love to roast a bunch of veggies. I'll use broth, vegetable broth on top of it and season them up really nice, and then put them on top of the salad. And so that makes it even a little bit more substantial and a little bit more stick to your ribs kind of feeling. And so another thing I want to talk about is meat. So I'm not sure if you guys already eat meat a lot or not, but I used to be a big meat eater. As a matter of fact, before I I was getting sick, I was keto. So I was eating a lot of meat, and I think that I decided to take it out because, again, meat is harder to digest, so it's harder on your liver. It's causing the liver to have to produce bile to digest it. It can just be a little bit clunky in the way of the whole fine-tuned works of trying to heal and cleanse. It's more of a substantial substance that's in your digestive tract that's impeding a quick and rapid movement of all of those toxins out of your body. Now, that being said, if you like meat and you want to still eat meat, that's completely fine. You just may want to consider if you can eventually get to the point where you're eating your meat in the evening meal. That would be optimal, because then you have all day to be cleansing until you sit down and eat that meat. And then eventually, as you progress through your journey, maybe you could start thinking about it every other day instead of every day. Depending on how quickly you want to get this cleansing underway. Again, it's a marathon, and you might do better just keeping the meat in for a long period of time before you start taking it out. You have to be the judge of that, of how you're feeling, how it's going for you. So I can't tell you definitively, must take the meat out. It's a personal choice. And again, it's not necessary to take it out completely. So these are just things to think about. Now, one thing I haven't talked about yet too much was adrenal snacks. So I told you earlier, I make a giant smoothie so that I have something to sip on for a good portion of the day. And that's because we should be eating some sort of form of glucose and minerals and potassium in the best case scenario every 1 to 2 hours, especially as we are healing our adrenal glands. So I'll give you a little backstory of what happens in the body when we run out of glucose and minerals in our body. The adrenal glands are forced to step up and pump out some adrenaline to get us through that period of time when the cells are not receiving any glucose. So over time, the adrenals get tired. And especially if we are dealing with pathogens in our body, it puts extra burden on the adrenals in addition. So we want to definitely be feeding those adrenals every hour or two, because we want to prevent the adrenal glands from dumping the adrenaline. We don't want the adrenaline to get dumped, because every time it happens, it's toxic for our nerves. Our nerves can't heal as quickly. And then also, not only the nerves, but like the pancreas, all of the brain, the heart, adrenaline is horrible for all of it. And then also it forces the liver to sop up the adrenaline to try and reduce the toxicity in the bloodstream. So if we can just avoid all that by eating on a regular basis, then that's a better way to go, because basically you're saving wear and tear on all parts of your body by avoiding wear and tear on your adrenals. So a perfect adrenal snack and one example of that would be an apple, some celery sticks, and a date. Now, I'm not perfect, so I don't always just have that snack, but I do like that snack actually. If I have the wherewithal, sometimes I'll make it in the morning when I'm making my juice or something like that. I'll go ahead and make the snack and put it in a plastic baggie so that I can then take it with me if I'm on the run or whatever and have it handy. So it's ready, it's prepped, it's ready to go. But you can really use, if you start thinking in terms of food groups, not the way we were taught with the food pyramid way back when, but we're taught, if you start thinking about it like in terms of glucose, fruit, glucose, and fruit also has potassium, like bananas have potassium and minerals and glucose. They all have somewhat of all of those things. So if in a pinch, just eat a piece of fruit. But best case scenario, if you can add something that's a little bit more heavy on the minerals, some greens, like you could eat a piece of romaine lettuce and a banana. You could eat, you start thinking of those pairings. Celery and any other kind of fruit as well. So you just look at something like kind of green, something in the fruit category. You're probably somewhere in a good zone with both of those things coming in. So you want to definitely do that between meals and eat those adrenal snacks as much as you feel like you can. So for dinner, I generally do something around potatoes, because potatoes are my best friend. They give me that feeling of like sustenance. They give me a grounding feeling. I would dare say most of my dinners have some sort of potato or sweet potato involved. But I love to, make a big old something, a big pot of soup or stew, a big skillet of a stir fry, veggie or whatever. Again, I told you about my pizzas that I made, last night. You can make a lentil soup. You can throw some potatoes in there. I like to make chili sometimes. I do a vegan version, but then I'll make some ground turkey on the side for my husband to add in, with just, crushed tomatoes and some beans. And I'm obsessed with onions. He hates it, but I love to caramelize onions and put anything along with it. Like caramelized onions to me makes the dish. So anyway, so that's a quick and easy dinner. You can make falafel burgers or whatever, some black bean burgers. You can make, some gluten-free pasta, like that bonza chickpea type of pasta is awesome. And then there's a processed food product called, it's RAOS. I don't know how you say it, if it's Rao's or Rouse. I get it at Costco, but they have it at Publix or Walmart, Kroger. I've seen it all sorts of places. Anyway, it's a very clean red marinara sauce, and it is pretty delicious, I have to say. I think if I could drink it out straight, I probably would, because it's so yummy. So can put that on some gluten-free pasta. I'll put it sometimes on my potatoes, because I want to get my potatoes in. And so I'll have a big old pot of steamed potatoes, and I'll just heat up a couple of them. And, I could throw some lettuce down and then throw the potatoes on top of that, and then the sauce. And it's just, that's a quick, easy dinner. That's so easy. Again, when I first started out, I was all about the recipes and making these fancy things that resembled the stuff I used to eat when I was eating standard American diet. But so my daughters we're empty nesters now. So my daughters are out of the house, And so it's just my husband and I that I have to really concern myself with on a daily basis. And so basically I don't know, I don't want to spend lots and lots of time on a recipe every day. I've just got too many things I want to do. You know, I got people to talk to, and you know, I got to do my mission. So I can't be spending all day in the kitchen, which I did for a long time. But I think I did a post yesterday just about the hack of batch cooking. So when I make my salads, I make, you know, 5 or 6 of them at a time. I make a big old pot of, you know, whatever for myself for dinner. I try to do the same for my husband, so that then again, I get a couple days off of cooking every day or every week. And then I don't have to spend all the time in the kitchen, because I know that's another challenge when you're starting this lifestyle, is finding the time and how do I figure it out. So if you work full time and you want to try and start bringing the celery juice and the smoothie in, you know, you can make it the night before, or you can make it like a day in advance. So there are just little workarounds and little tricks that you can use. So, you know, you definitely want to just start playing around with it and see what works for you. What, you know, make a cooking day on Sunday before you start your work week, so that you at least have a few days worth of food kind of prepped, and then you don't have to stress out, and then you can do it again on, say, Wednesday night or something like that, make another thing or two. So I wanted to get a couple products and show you guys some clean, processed products, which I still have in my kitchen, obviously. And my husband tends to like that snacky snack stuff a little more so. I eat it too sometimes, but there was periods of time, I would say a few years, I didn't eat it at all. Because again, I was so intent on healing myself, and I was not going to let, even though these snacks and such are not, they don't feed pathogens, but again, they're not, I had a mentality for a period of time that anything that went into my body had to be of a healing, like pedigree. Basically, it was perpetuating my healing forward, or I didn't eat it. So these things they're delicious and they're fun, but they're not necessarily healing things. Hold on, let me grab a couple things. All right, so some of the stuff I get, well, actually all these I got at Costco, but you can find them elsewhere too. I've seen that. These Heavenly Hunks, they are the most amazing chocolate oatmeal cookies, like so good, like crazy good. Heavenly Hunks, really good, clean ingredients, Simple Mills crackers. They're made out of almond flour primarily, but really, really tasty. Crunch, they give you the good crunch, like regular gluten crackers, and you don't even notice the difference. Similar to these chips. They're by Siete. Again, I got them at Costco, but you can get them, they have them at Walmart, they have them at grocery stores. The great thing about this stuff is, even in the time I've been doing this journey, the amount of products that are getting to be more mainstream is like growing and growing, that are clean and that you can actually eat. So those are a few things. Simple Mills, which is this one, they also have baking mixes, so that you can get like dinner rolls or cookie mixes or whatever. They also have some cookies that are pretty darn delicious that you can find in the stores as well. And most of them are free of the things that we want to avoid. So those are good starts for that sort of thing. Let me see if there's anything else in there that I forgot about. No, I mean, just the basics, you know, I like to eat pistachio nuts if I'm going to eat a nut, because they don't have any oil in their cooking process. Or if you want to eat raw cashews or raw almonds. I mean, again, I have eaten the other kind as well, but we're just looking at ways to kind of weed out the high fat foods, that basically all of these things that I just showed you have fat in them. So again, that's not going to be a cleansing food. It's not going to be a food that you're going to eat when you're cleansing. So I'll just briefly touch, I know this is getting long, so I'm just going to touch on the levels of detox, because the ultimate cleansing, well, actually is water fasting or fasting, but most of us can't handle that because our adrenals are too weak. So after that, then a juice fast would be the next more detoxifying thing. Then after that, then we're talking raw fruits and veggies that are and being fat-free while you're eating them. So being fat-free and salt-free and all raw, that is like a very high level of detox. The very next level would be to stay fat-free, but you're eating cooked foods, cooked potatoes and vegetables. And then after that, another level would be just to be eating avocados only for your fat intake. Then, of course, we go down the scale to, we have some of these types of things in there. That's less detox, but that's okay, especially as you're transitioning into a more clean and, detoxifying lifestyle. So I hope you guys have gotten a lot out of this. I'm sorry I kept you on here so long, but I just wanted to kind of cover the bases and give you as much information as I could, just to get started and to know where to turn and what you're doing. So feel free to, well, two things. Let me know if you watch this live or replay. Do a hashtag for me in the comments, because Facebook will show it to more people if I have more people kind of interacting with me. So, and then if you want to post a question in the comments, I will circle back and answer any questions that are there. Anyway, I'm glad you guys decided to hang out with me, and I hope the rest of your Sunday is awesome, and I will look forward to talking to you next time. All right. Love you all. Bye.